What's going on? This is your man, John Fortune, the host of the Frustrated Fan Sports Show. And today's show is the Redskins Pre-draft Show 1.0. Now, my last show was based on what the Redskins should be doing in free agency. And this time, I'm going to actually be talking more about the draft, what the Redskins should do, some of the players that's in the draft this year, and at the same time, to focus on what the Redskins really should be focusing on in particular, some certain type of players that they should probably be looking at, because, I went on and I looked at some of the mock drafts and some of the guys that they have the Redskins actually taken. I kind of really don't agree with them. I saw a couple mock drafts where they have us taking Drew Luck, which is the quarterback from Missouri. There were a few other mock drafts in which they had us taking the Ole Miss wide receivers, either AJ Brown or DK Metcalf. And then there was another mock draft that I saw, well, it was a couple of them, where they had us taking Deontay Thompson, which is the safety from Alabama. But I want to really get into this today, because first I want to focus on our draft order. This year, our draft order, we actually have a first round pick, a second round pick, a third round pick, a fifth round pick, and a seventh round pick. So we actually got 5 picks this year in this draft. Some of the guys, like I said, some of the mock drafts that actually has us taking certain guys, I actually honestly don't agree with them. So there's some of the guys. So I'm going to actually talk about some of the guys that they have us taking, and what we really should be doing in this draft. First, I'm going to start out with most of the mock drafts actually has us taking Drew Lock, the Missouri quarterback. I personally don't like this guy as a quarterback. There were so many things that I saw is a problem in his game. The guy, he doesn't throw receivers open. He holds the ball way too long. He stares down receivers and he rushes throws. We had this type of quarterback before. His name was Kirk Cousins. We don't need this type of quarterback again in this system, especially with Jay Gruden being our quarterback, our head coach, and also basically our quarterback's coach. I mean, Jay Gruden is basically our quarterback's coach and our head coach, and we don't need another Kirk Cousins in our system again. And he's a guy that I just absolutely do not like. The other guy, Deontay Thompson, the safety from Alabama. He's actually considered the top ranked safety in the NFL draft. But I mean, again, this is another guy that he just reminds me of some of the players that we've had here before. I mean, when you're talking about this guy, he is not a short tackler. He makes a lot of mental errors, gets caught out of position a lot. I mean, who does this guy sound like? This guy sounds like Clinton Dix. Like, we would basically be drafting Clinton Dix all over again. I mean, yeah, he would be a rookie, but if he's at Alabama and he's making these type of mistakes, what's going to happen when he gets to the NFL and he does it again? This guy isn't like Derwin James. You know what I'm saying? Darwin James from San Diego. A guy that you can actually do something. Not only that, he almost just feels like no matter what is going on, he's just going to always be out of position. The other 2 guys, the wide receivers from Ole Miss, AJ Brown and DK Metcalf, these guys did put up numbers. That it's not a lie, they really did put up numbers. But, and just so everybody knows, I actually look at a lot of tape on these guys, because to me, we have to really, really pay attention to what we're going to get in this draft and how beneficial these guys are going to be. far too long we've drafted guys just solely based on potential and not really based on the style of play that these guys are doing. I think that most recently we've actually drafted guys based on how great they played. Some of those guys have been like Trent, Morgan Moses, Brandon Scherf, Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, Ryan Kerrigan. These have been guys that we actually have focused on, their type of play and their style of play. And we need to go back to that. We need to actually go back and draft guys like that again. So I just want everybody to know that when I'm talking about these guys, I've actually seen a lot of game film on these guys. I've seen a lot of tape on these guys. And for me, I just, AJ Brown, DK Metcalf, these guys are to me, they're like, you may get like the Josh Doxson type of guy. It may be the guy that he comes in, he may seem flashy because we picked him high or whatever, but I think we will get the same production that we got out of Josh Doxson. I mean, neither one of these guys are really explosive. Neither one of these guys make you feel comfortable about getting in the ball. And to me, they just seem like both of these guys would probably be second-tier wide receivers, second, maybe even third-tier wide receivers. I don't see either one of them being number one wide receivers for us. So what I'm going to get ready to do is I'm going to actually talk about guys that I actually like for us and start from there. So first I'll talk about the quarterbacks that's actually in the draft this year, because I know that we should be drafting a quarterback, but some of these higher ranked quarterbacks, I just don't understand why some of these guys are ranked so high. Like I said, Drew Lock is one. I think he's really inconsistent. Dwayne Haskins, again, he's another one that I just don't understand why people like him so much. I mean, he's a poor thrower once he's flushed out of the pocket. For him, he needs to be comfortable just to be accurate when it comes to throwing the football. He's not a dual threat, really. He's more of a pocket passing guy who could be a dual threat, but he doesn't really seem comfortable when he's running the ball. But, I mean, there are some things that's good about him. I mean, he has a strong arm. He has a really strong arm. I mean, he can really throw the ball deep. And he's quick to find a hole in the defense. But, again, this just seems like this guy may be too much of a project for us to really bring him in and actually probably end up starting with us. Because if we go into the season with Colt McCoy as our quarterback, then we may be in bigger trouble than what we think. So I would rather have a guy who can probably come in and immediately start playing for us. The other guy that they have high on this list is the guy Ryan Finley from North Carolina State. To me, he's probably NFL ready, but he has issues too. His arm isn't really strong. He doesn't really see defenders that well. He has this issue of throwing high a lot of times. Again, we've seen these type of quarterbacks here. And at the same time, he's easily flustered into making mistakes. A la, again, a Kirk Cousins. A guy who is just, when the trouble comes, he doesn't know to be calm and be cool and just throw the ball out of bounds, or no, he's going to throw a pick. He's going to throw a pick. So for me, the top rated quarterbacks in this draft to me are guys that maybe people are talking about only one guy, which is Kyler Murray. He just gives me that Russell Wilson thing. Like, I mean, the guy has an amazing ability to escape. The problem I have with him is that he gets hit. He takes hits. He doesn't slide like Russell Wilson at all. And he takes some really nasty hits. And like I said, I've seen a lot of game tape of this guy. And one of my concerns is that a guy his stature, I mean, he's about 5'8", 5'9". And if he takes a hit, I mean, hell, Robert was 6'1". and he was killed when he took a hit. You talking about a guy that's 5'8", 5'9", he take a hit. Who's to say what may happen with this guy? But to me, the number one quarterback in this draft, to me, is the guy Daniel Jones from Duke. This guy is 6'5". I mean, this guy is really, really accurate with throwing the ball. He doesn't have a super strong arm, but his arm is strong enough to cause problems for a lot of teams. And I mean, this is a guy that I have to honestly admit, if he's there at our pick, I wouldn't mind us maybe dropping down and picking him prior to New England, because I feel that New England might take him because this guy is actually a really decent quarterback, and he actually does fit that Tom Brady mold where he's accurate, he's not really flashy, but he gets wins and he gets the job done. My other guy, again, like I said, is Kyler Murray. Again, he's a guy that he's in that Russell Wilson mode. He does a great job. He knows how to escape. He gets the ball to his top receiver, and he actually makes a lot of plays all on his own. So I actually like him. The guy I actually think is probably the best fit for us is Will Grier from West Virginia. Now, I just want to give you guys a little bit about this guy. Will Grier, I have to admit, I've been really, really impressed with this guy. I mean, looking at his game film, this guy is a risk taker. He reminds me so much of Brett Favre. You know, he's going to zip those balls in. He's really accurate, which is amazing for a guy, because I know he's been in trouble before, but not serious trouble to get him out, to not have him be in the league. But this guy is dangerously accurate. He has an incredible arm. I mean, his arm is really, really strong. He's good on the run. So if he scrambles out, he's still accurate with throwing the football, which is, again, a trait Brett Favre had. He has an amazing escapability that I don't think nobody's paying attention to. And he's completely unfazed in the pocket. Like, this guy is like so comfortable back there that even when you saw defenders around him, he just seemed like there was no way anybody was going to touch him. So just to give you some stats on this guy, he had 3,864 yards this year. He had 37 touchdowns and 8 picks. And this is the stats for just this year. So I honestly feel that if we're going to take any quarterback in this draft, it should be Will Grier, because I just think that this guy is probably the diamond in the rough that nobody's paying attention to. Like I said, again, Daniel Jones, Will Grier. I like Kyler Murray. I just don't like his size, but I really, really like Will Grier a whole lot. The next guy that I say, there are actually 3 wide receivers that I think are better than the guys that they want us to take. One of the guys, of course, is Kyler Murray's teammate, Marquise Brown. Now, Marquise Brown is the most dangerous wide receiver in college football. I mean, this guy, he's done so much, and it's just almost amazing at how many things you can do with this guy, because I mean, I think a lot of people know how good he is. I mean, people probably think that he's more of a slot receiver, but I actually see him as more of an outside receiver because he can make a whole lot of plays. Now, I know a lot of y'all who probably saw my previous video say, John, I thought you were going to address this in free agency, but, with the uncertainty of Jamison Crowder, and to be quite honest, this guy's way better than Jamison Crowder, because this guy, I mean, I'll just give you his numbers. He had 75 receptions, 1,318 yards, 10 touchdowns, and he had a 17.6 yard average, which means that he's a deep threat, which is what we need. I know some of y'all think Paul Richardson is that guy, but what's wrong with having 2 deep threats? I mean, I don't see an issue with that at all. My next guy that I love, nobody's paying attention to this guy, and he has the makings of Juju Smith-Schuster written all over him, and that's Paris Campbell from Ohio State. Because the quarterback play hasn't been that well during his time with Ohio State, JT Barrett was fairly good, but he kept the ball a lot. And Dwayne Haskins got him the ball, but I personally feel that the offense at Ohio State did not fit well for Paris Campbell. Just to throw you out some numbers, I know once I throw these numbers out, y'all gonna be like, well, wait a minute, John, that doesn't seem right. If you look at the game film, this guy had a tendency to disappear. He caught a lot, he got a lot of receptions, but he didn't get a lot of yardage. So I think they kind of underutilized this guy. His name, like I said, his name Paris Campbell. He had 90 receptions, 1,063 yards. He had 12 touchdowns, and he had 11.8 yard average. Again, this is a guy that I feel that he's going to fall in the draft. He's going to fall a very long way in the draft. And this is a guy that we could actually pick up maybe with the the third pick, or maybe even the 5th pick. But yeah, he's a really, really good player. The other guy is Hakeem Butler, the wide receiver from Iowa State. Again, this guy here is a freak of nature. I mean, he's 6'6", 225 pounds. And I mean, what quarterback would not love to throw to a 6'6" guy? Just to throw out his numbers, he had 60 receptions last year. He had 60 receptions this year, 1,318 yards, 9 touchdowns, and this is going to freak y'all out. He had a 22.0 yard average, which means that for every time he caught the ball, he was averaging 22 yards per catch. And at 6'6", that means he has an incredible stride. We're talking about maybe that Julio Jones stride. I'm not saying he plays like Julio Jones, but what I'm saying is that he has a really big stride, which will be fantastic for us if we were to draft this guy. Now, I did focus this draft on certain little things. So the things I did focus on was quarterback, wide receiver. The other thing I focused on was defensive end. I feel that with us building that defensive line and that defensive line getting young, our only old starter on that line is Ryan Kerrigan, who's older than a lot of the guys on the defensive line. Him and McPhee, and McPhee are the only two that are kind of older. But everybody's talking about some of these defensive ends that I just don't understand why people think these guys are any good. Some of the guys that I've seen, to me, they're not even worth a 1st round pick, much less a 3rd or a 4th round pick. The guys that they're projecting to go high are, to me, very awful players. So here are 2 guys that I feel are seriously being overlooked, because these guys are far superior to the guys that they got at the top of the list as being defensive ends and defensive tackles that are better. One guy I'll say is, he come from a big school, is Joe Jackson. Joe Jackson had 47 total tackles. He had 19 solo tackles, 9 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 1 interception. Just so y'all know, I mean, this guy has a high motor. He seems like he's big. He pushes a lot of things off. He just seems like a guy that if you put him beside somebody else, he's going to be incredible, almost like Michael Brockers. You know, he's going to be fantastic beside somebody else. He's not going to be all that fantastic on his own, but if you put him with our young defensive line, you're talking about a guy who could probably be a stat machine. The other guy is somebody that nobody knows about. Nobody recognizes this guy. Nobody knows this guy. Nobody's seen this guy. And I just happened to look at a few games in which this guy was playing, and I was completely impressed with this guy. And his name is O'Shea Zimenez, and he plays for Old Dominion. Now, just to give you an understanding of this guy is 6'3", 247 pounds. He is the best defensive end to me in this draft, and he's severely being overlooked by everyone in the NFL, and I don't understand why. Let me give you some of this guy's stats. This guy this year, he had 58 tackles. So that means he's a sure tackler as a defensive end. He had 58 tackles. Of those 58 tackles, 32 were solo tackles, which means that he actually tackles guys more by himself than most other defensive ends in this draft. I mean, Joe Johnson himself had 19 solo tackles. He had 47 total tackles. You're talking about a guy had 58 tackles, and of that 58, 32 was by himself, which means that he's an amazing tackler when it comes to tackling running backs, tackling quarterbacks, tackling wide receivers. Anybody comes in his area, or if they're near him, they will be tackled. They will be brought down. This is somebody that the Redskins will definitely need to bring in. Let me give you some more of his stats. He had 12 sacks. 12 sacks. Now, also, let me say this. This guy played beside nobody. He did all this damage on his own. And from the game tapes and stuff and the film that I've seen him in, this guy is constantly double teamed, and he's still disruptive. Double teamed and still disruptive. I mean, you can't find another player better than this. He also had 4 forced fumbles and also 1 interception. I don't understand how this guy is completely being missed in the draft. Now, I understand that with Old Dominion, it's a smaller school, but we've seen guys come from smaller schools and be phenomenal. We've seen DeMarcus Murray. You know what I'm saying? I mean, not DeMarcus Murray. The guy from Troy that played with the Cowboys. He came from Troy. He was a phenomenal player. We saw undersized Terrell Suggs come in, again, a guy who was not being really paid attention to. But this guy here, O'Shea Zimenez, I want everybody to actually go and look at tape on this guy. This guy is a phenomenal player. So I'm going to give y'all my breakdown on what the Redskins should really do when it comes to their draft order. So at number 1 in the first round, I think they should go with Marquise Brown, the wide receiver from Oklahoma University. In the second round, I think they should go with Will Grier if they can move up to get him, because I think that there will be teams that will probably target him. But I think that this is a guy that we should really think about getting. In the third round, I know some people may not necessarily agree with me on this, but this guy, O'Shea Zimenez, I just think that because he's not being paid attention to, and because he's going to go in the third round, I don't think people understand how phenomenal of a player this guy really is. So that's who I feel that we should take in the third round. In the fifth round, depending on if they fall to us, and that's really, really depending on if they fall to us, I would say if Hakeem Butler is there or if Paris Campbell is there, we should take one of them. And for our 7th round pick, I honestly feel we should trade it away. Hopefully we should trade it away to see if we can move up in the second round. Just to grab, like I said, Will Grier. I just think that he's the quarterback for us. Like I said, it's not a lot of quarterbacks that I feel can actually do stuff for us. I just want everybody to know this is just what I feel the Redskins should do. these are also some players that I feel are not being paid attention to in the draft, because a lot of you guys are not going to hear these names, or a lot of you guys are probably just hearing these names for the first time. So trust me, when I tell you I've looked at game film, I looked at these guys are massively being overlooked. These guys are far superior to the guys that are actually being talked about, being talked in the first, taken in the first round. And I'm sorry, y'all. These are guys that we should definitely do everything we can to put our focus on these guys. So that's the ending of the show. I want to sit here and I want to give a shout out to the Gibbs family. You know, it's sad to hear about Joe Gibbs losing his son, J.D. Gibbs. And, you know, as a father of a kid, I could not imagine losing the kid, you know, at such a young age. I mean, with him only being 49, they say he was sick, but no matter how you look at it, you know, it's just a tough thing for a father to lose a son. And my deepest condolences go out to the Gibbs family. And also, you know, men, for all of us who have sons and daughters and everything, spend as much time as you can with your kids. And, you know, just so they always know that you love them, no matter what goes on. Should something happen to you, should something happen to them, at least they'll always know that their dads love them. So that's the ending of the show. Like, subscribe, and at the end of the day, I'm going to stay frustrated. My next show will be my mock draft show.